Everybody, welcome back to the Beyond the Peloton podcast. I'm Spencer Martin, author of the Beyond the Peloton newsletter. As always, I'm here with Andrew Vontz from the Choose the Hard Way podcast, the Hard Way newsletter. Stage 11 of the Tour de France just wrapped up. Uno X with another stage win. If you remember, they won stage 11 of last year's tour, and they just won stage 11 of this year's tour with an incredible ultra long-range sprint from Soren Varenskjold over Olaf Koy. Jasper Philipsen, Tadej Pogačar leads the GC by 3:36 over Jonas Vingegaard, 4:22 over Juan Ayuso, 4:35 over our dear darling, our adopted child, Paul Sixas, a.k.a. Big Rich Paul Success. Andrew, I'm curious about what you think of this tour. It's all I've been thinking about as I've been watching this tour. Do you want to fill us in? We just heard from the nurses that you will be off this drip at some point, but other than that, how are you doing?
Yeah, some conflicting info on Race Radio. I thought that this was a 1 hour bag, and I have to do the time math because it's 24 hours of observation after this bag, assuming we go through that period of time without having a cytokine release storm. I can then be released from the hospital tomorrow night. I'm back at the hospital. I'm Uno X. I'm loop ahead Tour de France stage 11, and I'm ready to win. So that's where we're at today. And as things go in the former Soviet Union and in hospitals, you're supposed to start at 8 a.m. Things get kicking around 4, and you just roll with it. So if you want to develop your patience and do a different kind of interval training, just get cancer or any other kind of disease that requires hospitalization. We won't be doing this for too much longer once this is all gone. We will be back on the road. We'll be going fast. And as always, as Spencer mentioned, you can follow me always thehardway.substack.com, link in show notes, or go to @hardwaypod, where I'm posting updates, sometimes about the Tour de France, as well as about my cancer experience, life, and everything else. I'm still doing the Choose the Hard Way podcast. And Spencer, as you know, for people on video, I'm going to stand up because right now I'm wearing what I think is this is an EKG. I think they, again, took from the former Soviet Union. I bet it costs like $5,000. It has, the same functionality as my Apple Watch. And I'm wearing 6 of those stickers with leads, and I'm going to be sleeping in this tonight. And I'm going to be honest, I may urinate on it. I don't give it the old Don special.
That's why you're in the hospital. It's their problem.
Yeah, completely.
Not yours, you know?
Yeah, I did catch the end of stage 11 today, and I've been trying to figure out, I did bring a USB-C to HDMI adapter to try to get onto the hospital TV. I can't jailbreak it. It's too strong. They got something set up here, so I can't.
I know this type of smart TV. It's like, do you not want me to have fun? What's going on here?
I don't think this is a smart TV. This might be a dumb TV. It has a physical DVD player attached to the back, and then it has an HDMI port. I've tried everything, but we don't need to go too deep on that. We'll leave that to Escape Collective. They can do a deep dive on my cancer ward tech and why I can't bypass whatever is going on.
And how it goes back
TV.
to the UCI and like some shady Central Asian gas businessman. Have you been, quick question for you. I've been watching this race. So stage 10 was yesterday.
I have as well. I've watched this more than I've watched the previous probably 4 Tours de France. Yeah.
It is one of the plus sides of having, I had like a surgery and I had to be in the hospital during a Tour de France, and it was like the closest I've ever watched it. So it is the plus side of being hospitalized. But
the shin extensions, right? You went to China for that, I believe.
Yes. And you ever see people with this and they have like really long legs, but their arms, like this is the first thing you notice about them. You're like, dude, you should have got the arm extension too. What were you thinking? But stage 10 of the Tour de France was in the Massy Centrale. Didn't really need to be a GC day. Probably would have been a breakaway day at a normal tour. Pogačar said, watch this shiz, and just rode away and won. It was awesome. That combined with this sprint, which was a 400-meter sprint by a guy who weighs 205 pounds, these 2 stages are amazing. Like I'm sitting there like a child watching a Disney movie, having the time of my life. Everyone I'm watching with, Lance Armstrong, Bradley Wiggins, George Hincapie, couldn't be angrier. This sucks. This is boring. Am I out of my mind for thinking this is fun? What's your temperature on this?
I love these stages, and what I love about them is we're getting to see what typically happens before race TV goes live, because you're having the attempt to form the breakaway is just going on so long and is so intensely fought. I know that you've talked about this UAE tight leash strategy, which is really unprecedented in the modern history of the tour. I mean, it's probably unprecedented in the entire history of the tour. No one was strong enough to do this. I'm curious what's going on there. I'm having a lot of fun watching how does the break form? Who will they let go? When do they just say no, like Nancy Reagan? And seeing Carapaz, the little engine that could, giving it his all, and then Pog, did you see Pog give him that little head pat after the stage yesterday? Like, nice job, little buddy. Like, sorry, but like,
it was a pretty good move.
yeah,
But man, because George was like, "Oh, he's gone. Pogacar's going to bonk," and I was like, "Dude, he's going to stand up and close 30 seconds." And Pogacar, it was a 48-second gap, and he closed it in 700 meters on the climb. That was,
yeah,
and this is a guy who finished on the podium with Pogacar recently at the tour.
it was pretty good.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, not bad. What do you think is going on with the tight leash? I'll tell you what. First, I'll just throw my personal theory out there. A couple of things have happened this year that it's happy Pog. At the same time, I feel like this is more the Empire Strikes Back Pog. Like there's like a vengeance overtone to some of this. He's not being explicit. He was very gracious when he won yesterday on the stage that for the climb, Jonas, pardon me, not Johan. He's not raced Johan Brunel to my knowledge, but the climb he beat Jonas on 2 years ago, very gracious in victory. At the same time, it seems like there's something of a vendetta, and I'm wondering, are there certain riders or certain teams that have crossed Pog and he's just like letting them have it? Do you think there's any of that going on?
Well, let's sort our tight leashes. So today on the sprint stage, interesting tight leash. Also interesting breakaway because Little Trek's been controlling it up to the sprint point, but today they didn't because they knew Pedersen was going to lose because it wasn't an uphill sprint. So they let the break get away early. But the biggest time gap, I'm looking at it now, was around 140. That's the biggest at the beginning of the stage. I mean, right. I've never seen on a sprint stage like that, the gap held that close. It's because they have a hard time closing it. They did the fastest ever tour stage today, 51 kilometers an hour in the history of the tour. And they kind of barely caught this breakaway, which shows you how fast the breakaway can ride. So right. If you want to win the stage, you can't really give them a gap. So that'd be the same thing yesterday when Pogačar won, and it was like, oh, I've come back and won where I lost. And you actually got to see like, wow, he's a lot better than Jonas now. In 2024, they were somewhat equal. The odder one was stage 9, I believe. So this is another stage in the Massey Central, not an uphill finish. Pogačar couldn't have even one out of the group because Mads Pedersen is there. Filippo Ganna is there. Did you catch Filippo Ganna winning that sprint out of the group? Our guy is coming around.
Looking pretty
He's
good.
going to be a bunch sprinter before we know it. But Vanderpool's up the road with the group, and UAE is oddly keeping this gap tight, like a minute. And you've heard a lot of explanations. The only, including one, UAE was like, yeah, we just wanted to win the stage, but how are you going to win the stage against Mads Pedersen? Doesn't make a lot of sense. Right. I don't think it's malicious. I think it's mathematical, scientific, that they say, our guy is the strongest. We have the strongest team. If every stage is as hard as possible, our rivals will get more tired than us, thus can't attack us, thus our job is easier. That's what I think's going on.
That makes sense.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, I was thinking about this today when I was watching the World Cup and that overly long celebration on the second goal. One of the things
he did win like not only one of the biggest games of his life, but probably like a defining moment of his country's history.
Of his entire life and his country's history. He was soaking it in, and then he soaked it in a little bit more. He's the lady finger in the tiramisu, absorbing all the goodness. To steer this in the direction of quantitative analysis, the thing I thought about with the goalkeeping, I'm sure this is happening. There have to be predictive analytics based on certain scenario, shooter's head position, whatever the case may be, where this is the highest probability to movement to make. And then at the same time, there's gut and intuition and reaction time. Those are obviously very key elements of being a goalkeeper. I do think that part of what we're seeing in the Tour this year, and I think this will emerge in probably the next 12 months, I think that we're actually seeing predictive analytics and just more science-based approach to stage management for, like, as you said, hey, if you want to win the stage, you can't let dangerous riders go up the road and get a giant gap. Like, you just have to do something, keeping them closer, riding at a steady tempo versus having to put people completely off block at the front and then losing support riders at the critical stage when you need to launch. That makes a lot of sense. I also just think that there's some mathematical analysis here that, hey, this is actually the most efficient way to get Pog to the victory that we want him to have. I think that that's
Like overall victory or stage victory?
I think both. But I think
So you think they were trying to win stage 9 with Pogačar?
I think that there's been some kind of quantitative analysis that's not public yet that this is the best and most efficient way for them to do what they're doing in the Tour. And like what their objectives are, I don't think we'll know until after the Tour, other than number one, we know Pog wants to win the Tour. I'm still not 100% that he's going to do it, which that may be my hottest take yet.
I thought you were going to say 100%. You're not 100% sure he wants to win the Tour. Do we even know that that's his? It's the polka dot. That's what he's going for.
This could actually all be a simulation. Okay. Number two, when we think about the stage victories, I started to think, I was talking to my son, Sam, and my daughter, Ava, about this. I was like, Pog is going to get Cav's record if he just doesn't have a catastrophic injury.
Sure, right?
So I was like, okay, perhaps he's going for the Cavendish record, but then we have to go back to that gift to Del Toro early in the Tour, which does not comport with I'm going for the stage win record. Why would you hand something to Del Toro other than for the reasons we talked about previously, some of which are emotional, some of which are related to leadership and team management, and also potentially related to contract and just keeping him on board, knowing he potentially could go somewhere else and be the GC leader or team up or probably end up in a Remco Lipowitz situation, right? Or become an Ayuso, just like going out the back. Those are some of the thoughts I had about it. That's a lot of math soup, I think.
We should say on the gifted stage, that was stage 2. I did think a lot about this because he's at 24 stage wins. He has 11 to go to match Cav. So every win counts, and especially these GC guys. It's not like a sprinter. Cav could win stages close to his 40s. The lights go out with the GC guy. Look at Carapaz, man. Like that guy, think how hard it's going to be for him to win a stage. It's so hard to get one stage. So you don't want to throw him away, but maybe he thought, Vingegaard was on his wheel, was on Pogačar's wheel. So maybe he just thought, what if he outsprints me? Maybe my teammate should just go if they're not following him. He might have also thought a stage win here equals a stage win elsewhere because now Del Toro will bury himself for me. It's better for me in the long run.
Right.
Because, man, you look at this course. This is a weird course. Tomorrow, stage 12, is probably the last sprint day. Have you ever seen a tour where the last sprint stage is on stage 12? And you could be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional Pogačar stage wins at this Tour de France. And if he's bought Del Toro's loyalty and Del Toro's kind of fade now, like that's worth a stage win, I would guess, right? Because he could win a lot of these stages. Will he though? Because does everyone not like him anymore? I guess would be the question.
Here's something I haven't heard anyone who's probably a bit less disruptive in their thinking than I am here from the cancer floor of Maine Med in Portland. I've been thinking a lot, Spencer, about whether Pog could win on the Champs-Élysées. Is there some strategy where he ends up winning that stage?
Yes, for sure. It's not as good as last year. I don't know why they changed it. So it's 11 kilometers from the top of that climb. And if you look at this climb on paper, or this stage on paper, and I've heard our buddies at Lantern Rouge say, like, oh, Tim Merlier is going to get over these climbs. It looks like it on paper. Sure. But you remember watching that last year, it's so narrow, it's so explosive, it's violent. I don't think if sprinter can get over, I do think Pogačar could win. I think he probably will win. Maybe the only person that could stop him is Mads Pedersen or Mathieu van der Poel.
Yeah, it's the Kips
Yeah.
corner Gates pass corollary. You have to think about it that way. Anything could
Yeah.
happen on that final stage. But if you think about it, Pog, let's say he goes on to win. I'm not totally convinced. And let's assume he wants to pick up more stages to move towards the stage win record. And he likes doing remarkable things that he hasn't done before and not necessarily repeating other than winning the GC of the Tour de France. And that would be something else. If has the yellow jersey ever won on the Champs-Élysées in modern cycling history?
I feel like
Have I stumped the professor?
definitely someone has asked me this recently. I think he did it, but
Man,
hold on.
I'm derivative. Yeah.
I think I remember it might have been us. I remember looking this up.
Yeah.
And then I know remember Vinokurov spoiled the Sprinter's Day and won there
Yeah.
one year. Yeah. So it is possible here. I'm looking up Bernardino. He did win
Yeah,
stage
you're right.
21,
Okay.
1982, won the overall. What a
I don't
freaking stud that guy was.
Yeah, and I suppose Le Mans, but it was a time trial. I'm not gonna count that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he wasn't in the yellow jersey. He was only in the yellow
No,
jersey
you're right.
after he won.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think a little yes, you're a legend. The Badger's a legend. Nonetheless, I don't think we've seen it in the modern era of cycling. Now that we've taken a look at the facts, deep
It
dive.
would be super, super unusual for sure.
Yeah.
Unusual enough to catch Pog's attention. Do you also,
Yes.
1982 Tour, 92 hours? Pogacar's going to do this thing in maybe under 70, which shows you how much the race is shrinking with the increasing speeds.
That's shorter, I want to point out, than most gravel races now.
Hey, I mean, that's not a total joke. It's close.
What is the Traca 5000 winning time? I'm going to look it up.
More than that.
Yeah.
But what have you thought? I've been super impressed with your son, Paul. I think his ride on stage 10 was incredible. People it won't be sold as that. But let's rule, Remco got dropped on that climb yesterday. So I know he came back and the big, strong boy sprinted real fast and he was happy and he looked good. But he got dropped on let's look at the stats on that. That was a 3.5 kilometer climb at 5%. They have a summit finish coming up that is 12K at 10% average. Let's see how Remco does on that. Paul Sixas gets third on that stage. This is a really tough stage for a young rider. First day out of the rest day. He's never had a rest day before in a Grand Tour. Probably the hardest stage of the race. And he gets third, and he looked really strong. So I've been impressed with your guy, Paul Sixas.
He's done all right. And I think that Uno X win today, that was pretty mind-blowing. When he saw the door open on the right side, I thought of Eric Saunders and the Jamie Palinetti film, I guess we would call it. It was on DVD. The Hard Road, where Saunders is out in Palm Desert training and he's talking about what happens when the door opens and you shut the door. And that's exactly what went down. That window was there just for a nanosecond. He shot up the right side. He sat down once he got in the draft, and then he reaccelerated. And it was like a 20-second sprint. And typically what we want to see a sprinter come off of the last wheel, whether it's their lead out man or if they're surfing wheels. We want to see them in the wind for 75 meters max, ideally.
Yeah.
Right?
And he launched with 400 meters to go. But so he's a big guy. I was just talking to someone who said he has the highest power, like 20-second power in the peloton. So that's good for him, a longer sprint. Not good at positioning. Interesting what Uno X has been doing, though. They've been attacking on these sprint stages, like back even on stage 7. People are like, what are they doing? Why are they attacking? They're not going to stay away. It's to fatigue the sprint trains. And they had a guy up the road today, Soudal, has to burn their train just to get them back. They only get them back with 6K to go. And if you've noticed, there's no GC teams at the front on these sprint stages. So there used to be a lot of pace. Like these GC teams would pull them in. Now it's a mess because there's no GC teams because they're all at the back trying to stay safe because they got smart all of a sudden.
Right.
But there's no pace in that final kilometer because they're all tired from chasing Uno X. And then who does that help but Uno X? Like they're making their own luck because that door opened right up. Unclear to me why Coy didn't. I feel like if he goes with his teammate there, he probably wins the stage.
Probably wins the stage.
But he was scared of the distance, I think.
Yeah.
He didn't want to launch. 300 meters out.
Yeah. And then there's Jasper. This is just kind of a tired topic. Just not a lot to get into here.
He's going to win a stage, though, you know?
Yeah.
This is classic Jasper.
He'll definitely win a stage. I was thinking about this actually watching England, Argentina today. Winning is just such a momentum phenomenon. And sprinting, I think, in the Tour de France is one of the ultimate examples. So is Messi in the last 12 to 0 minutes of a game, where a flip switches, something happens, you start to get some positive momentum that leads to belief leads to victory. Not always. Today's stage winner talked about that. He said he was just wiped out. He said he had horrible legs at the beginning of the stage, just didn't think
crashed
he could do
yesterday.
it. Yeah, crashed yesterday, felt terrible, and then was hanging on, and then the door opened, and like Eric Saunders at their Redlands crit just like goes through the door. And next thing you know, you're in the fifth dimension, right?
These sprints have nothing on Redlands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eric Saunders could have gone through that hole with his eyes closed. But we should say that probably the power required was the most powerful sprinter we've ever seen, or sprint we've ever seen. I would love to see the power file from that.
Yeah. It's now it's making me think about Marcel Kittel, right? There's just something.
Do you know what's funny about both of them? Both U23 time trial champions.
Yes.
So just a lot of sustained power.
Definitely. And then you were kind of joking about Ghana becoming a sprinter. Yet, I mean, he has the background, right? Time trialist.
Yeah. I think he's more of the win we saw today. I think he's honestly, he's probably capable of that if he was there. I think a slightly uphill one, like the one on stage, the one he didn't win on stage 9 was probably perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. We're gonna keep this one concise, but a topic I want to make sure we hit, and we can go deeper on this maybe post tour when we have more time, and then maybe during Vuelta time we can go even deeper. Couple of things I want to throw out. Okay, Matteo Jorgensen. There's the speculation. I know Bradley Wiggins is talking about Jonas potentially not finishing this race. Well, if Jonas doesn't finish this race, he's going to go race the Vuelta, and he's going to, what Matteo, right? You know what Matteo's thinking, right?
Well, Matteo's got other problems that aren't Jonas because.
Yeah, right. He's getting totally tailed off the back when he really should be in the mix. Something's going on with Sepp Kuss as well. This is not the same.
Well, do you know what's going on with these guys? So Jonas, there's been 4 consecutive Grand Tours that he's raced. Same thing with Victor Kampenart's Tour last year, Vuelta, Giro Tour. Right. It's too much. It's too much racing. I don't know what data they have that tells them it's not. Same thing with Sepp. They're going to the well so much with these guys. I think they've just hit a wall.
Yeah, then you become Adam Hansen Diesel, the cousin of Shaq Diesel, right? 18 Grand Tours in a row.
We should say Adam Hansen what was being asked of him was a little bit different than what was being asked of Jonas and Matteo. You know? That was good for him, probably.
Probably, yeah. And then he had plenty of energy for his custom shoe business, his software engineering, and his real estate empire. One of the smartest guys come out of the World Tour, although there are a number of other ones, but he's formidable in a lot of domains, which people may not know about. The other thing I'm thinking of,
the most profitable of those has got to be the real estate business. I bet he did pretty well.
Yeah, he did. I still would love a pair of his custom shoes. And Adam Hansen, if you're listening, I won't be able to use them for about 2.5 months, but my DMs are open. He makes 110-gram shoes. Custom
Did you hear the story behind this? I think you know this, but they said it on the commentary the other day that he made his own shoes and he got in trouble for it because you're not supposed to do that.
Oh, of course
so he's
not.
like, okay, I'll sell them on my website. And he just put them at a price he thought no one would ever pay. And then people started buying them.
Yeah.
But the price point was set at such that they would never sell. It was just to prove that they were technically for sale.
Right. Like the GB track bike for the London Olympics.
Yeah, like $1 million for the track bike or something.
Yeah, you can buy it, but you're going to need to sell a building. And when I'm talking about a building, not a multi-unit building, you're going to need to sell a big building, a tall building.
Like a home in Boulder or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like some commercial
like
real
ranch.
estate with like 50 floors, basically.
Actually, we don't need to diverge into this. I think some of the prices on those have inverted where you can buy like a 50-story office building for less than a
Right.
single family home. So
Yeah.
just opportunities if people are listening.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. My mom just walked in and her cell phone
Oh,
is louder than a fire truck.
it's so loud.
You all right, Mom? Yeah. The other topic, though, we have exchanged some discreet private messages about this, and it is being talked about in some places. People think about, okay, Mods has a stage win. He's in green. So it's a development year. This team is just a complete mess. Just something really fundamental has to happen. This is a team of team all about me. Even with Quinn giving Mods the lead out the other day, and then I did notice, I think Quinn
He's
could
kind
have
of
won
mad
that.
about it.
Quinn could have won that sprint, I actually think, because did you see him then pass like 4 guys to take second place after leading out Mods from the break?
Yeah, but that acceleration from Mods was unbelievable.
Yeah,
I don't
it was
know.
unbelievable. I'm just saying they're doing what they have to do to kind of check some boxes. Ayuso just seems like a soup sandwich. I don't see this guy being a Grand Tour winner, probably. And at least not the Tour de
Well,
France.
who is? You're not named Tadej Pogačar or Jonas Vingegaard. Do you
Yeah.
even have a chance? It's not
Well,
clear
I
to me,
mean,
but
I still think Big Rich Paul Success, I still think he might win this Tour de France, and I think he's definitely going to win a Grand Tour. Matthew Riccatello, I've said it before, he's going to win a Grand Tour. Like, I'm 100% confident of that. Ayuso, I don't think the Trek's going to get what they want out of this investment. And then when I look across the rest of the team, I just see a lot of I, a lot of me.
well, they are. ISO is in the white jersey and is 4th overall. I don't think he'll finish there, but just for our Fox News fair and balanced listeners,
Yeah.
I'm saying his place in this race. I think, let's say he finishes 5th. The problem is they paid so much for him. That's not what they paid for, and they've kind of put themselves in a non-winnable situation. Little Trek, interesting team though. Definitely, you're not the only one that shares that view because their management was fired. And now they have new management, Andy Schleck. Is that going to turn things around, Andrew? His experience is running a bike shop in Luxembourg and working for the Skoda VIP experience. Is that the guy you would have come in to fix all this?
There's no me in Little Trek, but there is an I. There is the letter I. I saw Andy Schleck defending himself on social media regarding his selection as CEO of the team. I don't think that's a good sign. I think it.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that
like
he
never
should,
a great indicator.
I don't. He was defending the legitimacy of him being choose and his ability to actually manage a business. That's not a good sign. I actually think he can do this. I believe in him, and there must be some reason that this selection was made. I don't think that we have unintelligent people who want to have a business that fails running this team. And I think, in fact, the move that we saw with Grisha coming into the team is an indicator the right personnel decisions are already starting to be made. It's just you can't make the decisions you have to make with certain personnel changes right now in the middle of the tour. These adjustments will have to happen going into 2027. I'm in a room getting an immunotherapy right now. I'm not at the Tour de France. I'm very curious about what we see with the transfer market. We've talked about the Milan Pedersen paradox. These two things should add up to something.
That's the
Right.
weirdest part of the team to me. Like,
Yeah,
Milan would have been great today. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, great teams are greater than the sum of their parts, and this one is a lot of really great parts, is what I
We
think.
should say they probably will leave this tour with a green jersey, a stage win, and a top 5 overall. So not terrible,
Yeah.
but as you say, yeah, probably not greater than the sum of their parts. I would assume Quinn Simmons is going to leave. I think he would be great somewhere like
Right.
NSN where he could just do whatever he wanted. I don't think you can just tell in his interviews he does not get enjoyment out of working for Mats Pedersen. That's not bringing him joy in his life. But what would
what about sorry, Spencer, I want to ask you, what about Milan? I'm sorry, are you staring at me, Dad?
No.
Okay. What about I was thinking about this with Milan and Mods. They're never going to be able to race together. I think they'd be phenomenal. You think about Matthew Van Der Poel and Jasper Philipsen, the ultimate lead out. I don't know. Do you have Jonathan Milan and Mods working together? I think that you have something phenomenal. The thing that I think about is Milan to Ineos working with Ghana. Actually,
Ooh,
I think
like that.
I think that's really interesting. They've done Team Pursuit, and I'm assuming have won many gold medals together, probably world championships at least. They both, yeah. That's really interesting to me, and I think that I don't know what their personal relationship is. I'm making a lot of assumptions just based on the fact
I
they've been
think they're
on.
good friends.
Yeah, okay. But as we know, you could be on a national team and not everyone necessarily likes each other. But if they get along
Yeah.
well, I don't know. Like you have Milan and Ghana, I think in a lot of different contexts, something very interesting happens there that's much greater than the sum of the parts. And then I don't know if you want to continue to invest and build around Ayuso, Mods going for the green jersey, I don't think fits into that. At a certain point, if you're pushing all your chips in, this isn't peak Visma with Jonas winning the tour and Wout freelancing stage wins and going for the green jersey and doing the double Von too. Like, sorry, they're not at that level.
The problem is Ayuso's not going to win the tour, so you got to get
Right.
something else out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the harsh reality is if you don't have Tadej Pogačar or Paul Sixas, I don't think you're going to be winning the tour for a while. Or
Yeah.
maybe you could stretch that to say Del Toro. He had a bad day on stage
Right.
10, but that was out of race. You notice he changed his bike? It's kind of weird to me. So he's been riding this,
I did
it's
notice
aero, but climbing, and then he's on the aero
Yeah.
bike on stage 10. And you're like, man, like Lance Armstrong, I could never imagine him changing a bike in the middle of a race. It's kind of a funny thing to do.
Yeah. It is funny. I'll say this out loud as well. I don't want to see Riccatello go to Little Trek. I could see them, whatever, trying to outbid Decathlon to bring him onto the team. I think if he ends up there, he'll do the best he can. I just don't want to see Riccatello go to EF or to Little Trek because I don't think it's the right move for him. I think
he'll stay at Decathlon. I think that's a great setup. Did you see, I'm going to tee you up into your last topic because I know you want to talk about this. Did you see this video of the Decathlon advanced team? They go into the hotel room with mattresses. So it's like you sleep on the same mattress every night, and then they clean the hotel room for you. This is its team staff.
Right.
That's pretty good situation they have there. But there are some teams that maybe don't have this because their hotel rooms were quite dirty. I'm sure everyone's seen the Uno X social media. Uno X got in trouble for this, by the way, for posting their crappy hotel room on the rest day.
Right.
The Tour de France organization got mad at them. And for those who don't know the logistics of this, the tour books everybody's hotels. In theory, every team has the same number of stars by the end of the tour. So you should be getting similar hotels. There's debate about whether this actually happens or not. But do you know who does not get the same number of stars, Andrew? Is the Tour de France staff, because they stay in the nicest hotel in every town while the riders get put in terrible hotels, some of them dangerously hot, and they have to sleep outside, which is what happened. And you're not allowed to not stay in the hotel. So even if you want to sleep in the team bus because it's air conditioned, you can't. You have any thoughts on this?
Well, it's just like being admitted to a hospital. It's actually a jail, and you cannot leave the hospital once you're admitted. Even if I wasn't attached to my bag, like they seriously, you can't walk outside. I had to, I'll connect the dots here, but I had to have a PICC line placed in interventional radiology during my 24-hour stay that became 5 days last week. And I'm healthy. I do have cancer, but I'm ambulatory. I'm walking 4 to 6 miles a day most days when I can. So it's time for this procedure. I get up and they have a bed at the door. I said, I don't need a bed. I can walk. And they said, no, you can't actually. It's policy. And I said, well, like, what's this? What's the policy for? Like, well, a hospital is a dangerous place. There are a lot of people walking around. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I know I'm going to have to get on a bed when I get down there because it's a minor surgical procedure, but like, can you like let me maintain my dignity? And they're like, no, we can't. And the reason I mention this is with these Uno X videos, and it's kind of catching on, we're seeing the hotel videos from a lot of other teams now. We're seeing mold, roaches. I don't know, somebody probably has a raccoon in there. The beds.
I mean, it's bad if a team is hiring people to clean hotel rooms before riders go in. It must be consistently awful.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are in their 40s and 50s probably had a fantasy about having the race car bed that Ricky Schroeder had in Silver Spoons at some point, which is like a small child's bed. I think that that small child's bed is probably that was made in the early 80s. It was probably a fire hazard. It's probably much nicer than what these athletes are sleeping on during the hardest bike race in the world, often with no air conditioning. And I think that the star system allocating hotels is fair in the same way that the host country of selecting the World Cup is fair.
Yeah. Kofidis is in the 5-star every night. Weird. Well, how's
Yeah,
that happen?
yeah,
The
completely.
team we don't like, Uno X, is in the worst hotel. Weird. Who would have thought that could happen? But
Who would have thought?
I mean, it's crazy it's crazy they don't let you go stay in your own hotel. Like, it's like, no, you got to stay in the one we gave you. It's a punishment. So it's like, you make us mad, we're going to put you in a terrible hotel. There was a funny, Tim Merlier was sleeping in a room with an AC unit because a lot of teams bring their own AC around. And the teammate was like, well, I don't like AC, so I'm sleeping outside.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, I love it. I love the hatred of the AC. But the
yeah.
UAE had AC, brought their AC units, plugged them in. Guess what happens? Blow the circuit. Boom.
Well, the
No
circuit.
AC. So even if you have your own AC unit, you might not have air conditioning.
They're going to need to start bringing massive generators. We have a friend who could make this happen. Brian Andre works for Cummins. I think that Cummins makes some of the
Yeah.
best generators in the world. You'd have like an octopus of power running into the hotel to power the AC units. Just as an aside, I didn't send you this article, but did you see the Journal maybe 2.5 weeks ago during the peak of the heat wave before this heat wave had an article about Europe's hatred of air conditioning and how it might be changing?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. It's a complicated topic. There's a lot of societal dislike of AC.
yeah,
My co-host on my other podcast said, these guys better be careful with all this ice because you know what's going to happen, Andrew. They're going to get sick. It's going to be too
yeah,
cold.
completely. Yeah,
But people think that there's also structural issues. Like, they just don't have, like, power is very expensive there. So running an AC unit would be,
yeah,
like, sometimes it will be 3 times more expensive than Hawaii per kilowatt hour. And Hawaii is significantly more expensive than mainland US. Like, I thought that was the most expensive electricity in the world. Nope. In the UK, it's 3 times as much. But I think I could release like a 10-point plan. Like, I think we could get some shade going on outside windows. We could get some
right.
strategic AC use. I think we can make this happen in Europe.
I think the way that I've been thinking about this since we were discussing it in the last 24 hours. ASO has a monopoly. They can do whatever they want. They get fees from the start and finish cities.
I guess they don't technically have a monopoly because you could just start a race called
Well,
like Andrew's big bad race in
yeah,
France and run it at the
yeah,
same time.
that's
Just
true. Yeah, de
I
facto,
get technically there's nothing stopping you.
de facto, they have a monopoly though. And
But like in the NFL, like you legally cannot start a new NFL team.
okay,
That's illegal.
that's fair.
So
But
that is like a
well,
monopoly.
Valon tried to do the Hammer series and a number of other things. I actually was thinking about who are people who've tried to do this. It is like the NCL kind of tried to do this. Like they had no chance. People have tried. At the same time, I was thinking about how do you evolve this in a way that the ASO gets what they want out of this, which is they want fees from these cities, and then they have to turn around and allocate funds to the host hotels so that there's a feedback loop here. The money comes
I
in.
definitely think that's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, the money goes back. What about this? What if the Amory family becomes a major investor in an RV company and maybe RV parks across France? And then suddenly, what are we doing? We're using the ASO. It's kind of like a Grenadiers kind of thing. Well, actually, we, the Amory family, we now manufacture RVs. They're the finest in the world. And this is where the teams will stay as an advertisement for the RVs. It's not that
That's actually
far-fetched. Yeah,
that would be a way better solution. I have thought about this a lot. So ASO's business is a little funky because most of their money comes from municipalities. They pay a lot for a start, pay a lot for a finish. Like Barcelona
right.
paid 9 million euros for that first 3 days. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you're collecting money from taxpayers, basically. That's your business. And I think you're right. The towns pay and they say, but you have to buy a big block of hotels in our town. Like little for us, we did you a big favor.
Yeah.
So I'd assume that's why this is happening. But yeah, the RVs are the solution. The RVs are the future. We need to embrace it. They should buy Jayco. Let's make a
Yeah.
strategic partnership with Jerry Ryan happen. Actually, the more I think about it, if you remember, there was a competitor to the Giro d'Italia. A race came along and said, we want to go head to head with the Giro and we're going to beat it. And they kind of did have a better start list for a while. Do you know what that race was?
Course Classic.
Well, that was a little earlier, but the Tour of California. I mean, that was getting big names, and they were kind of stuffing it to the Giro, and then the runway ran out, unfortunately.
Yeah. We'll have to go deeper on this later and when we're not.
Do you know who owned the Tour of California? Oh, so yeah, maybe you're right. They do it for monopoly.
Yeah, I met with someone today who's currently doing business with ASO and has been working on something with them for a number of years. So we can talk offline about what that process is like.
Oh, I'm sure it's an amazing company. There's like 3 people that own it. It's like 3 people in the family, and it's spitting off tons of cash. Oh my God!
But like what the actual mechanics are of like you were doing a deal with ASO, and what does that look like over the course of years? Spence, I am getting the high sign here from Team Bonnie and Gary that I need to wrap it up, and I don't know what the nurse was doing to the bag behind me. The big surprise during this call was I thought it was a 1-hour bag today. I just learned it was 4 hours. So that pushes back my exit time by 3 hours tomorrow, assuming there's no cytokine release storm today, which is my assumption. If anybody wants to follow along with this wonderful journey and my thoughts on professional cycling, find me at HardwayPod on Instagram. Linktree there to everything. My Substack is always thehardway.substack.com. Spence, I know you're a busy man. It's good to chop it up with you a bit here during the tour, and anybody listening will try to do this when our respective schedules and my brain function permit.
Well, thank you for joining us, and you've got a lot going on as well. It's great to talk to you. Fantastic to get your thoughts on the race, and I hope your parents aren't too mad that we went long. But have a great evening, Andrew, and we wish you the best with the next 24 hours.